Hello, good morning. I'm Melody Joy and this is Melody Joy Quilts, and today I wanted to share with you, it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. I have a bunch of quilts that I've completed down here in front of me, and what I wanted to share with you is to minky or not to minky. What are you choosing to put on the back of your quilt? What are some of the considerations? Should you do minky on the back of your quilts, or should you use more of a traditional fabric? And I wanted to show you some of the quilts that I've completed and talk about my decision making with those. So this is an example of one that I have made. This is an ombre triangle quilt using a confetti fabric, and on the back of it I have done this printed minky. Now I quilted this with diagonal lines with gold thread going about maybe ½ an inch away around all of my blocks. And it looks pretty cool in the back. You can kind of see the texture a little bit. The print is really fun. It's very soft. I made this quilt for my oldest daughter. She loves it. It's very, very soft. Now, one of the considerations with minky is what is going to be the size of your quilt. This is a small throw. Okay, I'm 5'7" for reference. It's right now hitting the floor. It goes right under my chin. So this is a small throw quilt. This worked well with minky because I believe this minky fabric that I picked up, I don't think it's actually minky brand, but it's that type of material. It's very soft and kind of fuzzy. Kids love this. It's just super soft to cuddle up with. It typically comes in 60-inch width. So if your quilt is 60 inches wide or smaller, then minky can work great as a backing. If your quilt is going to be wider than 60 inches, which this is a quilt that I made for my son, I want to show you the back of it. It's Minecraft. If you don't recognize the cartoon, it's Minecraft from a video game for my son. I did some fun, because there is some economy blocks in it, I did a fun diamond outline and then squares. Now, this was wider than 60 inches. So it was wider than the width of the minky he picked out for the back. So what I ended up having to do was seam my minky. Now, I'm trying to find the seam here on the back. This is where I had to piece the back. Where is it? I lost it. Here. So you see this extra line that goes, there's an extra line that goes along here. Now, the problem with that is it creates a ridge because minky is already thicker than traditional quilting cotton, and it kind of has, this one's kind of a little bit of like a medium hair, not like fully long hair, but like a medium hair minky. It's longer than this one. This one's very short. This one's a little bit longer. Very soft, very warm. But because I had to piece another strip to make it wide enough, it left a ridge. Now, it's not a deal breaker. This quilt is for my son, but I would not necessarily recommend piecing minky. Now, they have come out with some minky that is 90 inches wide, so you can get it as 90-inch wide, so you can accommodate up to a 90-inch wide quilt without having to piece it. I'm gonna show you this one. I just got this back from my long armor yesterday, which I'm very excited about. This is the brand Cuddle Minky. It's in this beautiful dark green. The pantograph on here is called Vines and Berries, and this was 90 inches wide. My quilt store had just sent out an email last week saying they started stocking the 90-inch wide Cuddle Minky, which is great because then you can do a larger size quilt without having to piece it if you want that soft cuddly background. This was done, the quilting on this was done by a long armor. The first two quilts I showed you, I did the quilting with a walking foot, and I just did kind of straight lines. This one was quilted by a long armor in the pantograph Vines and Berries, which I feel like goes really well. I haven't trimmed this up yet. I just got this back yesterday. I'm so excited about it. The front of this quilt has a jelly roll called Berries and Pine, and I used a free pattern from Moda called Quadrangle, but this quilt ended up finishing 62 inches wide. So the 60-inch minky would not have been wide enough because when you go to quilt it, you want to have a little extra on the sides. We just lost power. power just went out. Okay, well, hold that thought. We'll be back when I have power again. Okay, well, that was a fun little interruption. My power was out for about an hour, but I am back. Power just came back on. Okay, so I was talking about the size that Minky comes in. So a lot of Minky is 60 inches wide. So if your quilt is smaller than 60 inches, then it can be a great option. Or there is a limited color selection in Minky that is 90 inches wide. If you do have to piece your Minky, you end up with a ridge. So while I have done that before, I wouldn't recommend it. But this is the quilt I just got back yesterday from the Long Armor. Pattern is quadrangle, and I used a 90-inch Minky backing. So this one is gonna get finished up real soon. Okay, what if you want a cuddly texture, but you don't have a Minky in the right size? This quilt, let me see if I've got this going the right way. It goes this way. This one is called Exploding Hearts. I love this pattern, and this is wider than 60 inches. Again, it's a pretty good size quilt. What I did on the back of this one is not Minky, and it's not traditional quilting cotton. I actually used a black brushed flannel. And it is so cuddly. It is so soft. This quilt's been washed a couple times now, and it just has a beautiful crinkly drape to it, and it's very soft, very warm, and this is a flannel. Now, I had purchased this flannel at Joann's, and I remember I was in this section of Joann's before they closed that had wide backs for quilting, so 108-inch wide. So I found this black brushed flannel. I love it. It's so soft. It's so cuddly. It doesn't have any of like the furry texture like a Minky does. It's just a really soft flannel. And now that it's been washed a couple times, this is just the best quilt to curl up with. I love it so much. I did get this one long arms. It has the heart pattern kind of to mimic the heart pattern on the front. But it was available in 108 inches wide. So you could do up to a king size quilt if you can find a 108-inch flannel. So that might be an option because I haven't seen Minky in a 108-inch. And that would also be an extremely heavy quilt because Minky is heavier. So in general, I feel like Minky does well on smaller throw size to maybe twin size quilts. If you're doing anything larger than like a throw or a twin, then I would maybe consider flannel if you can find it in a 108. Again, if you had to piece a flannel backing, it would be okay, but wherever you had to seam it, similar to this Minky one that I did, you would kind of have a ridge or a bump. So if that bothers you or you feel like it might bother you, then just looking for something that's wider is an option. And again, this one I had purchased was a 108-inch wide backing. And so love that. So that's an option. Flannel. Flannel is kind of an in-between. You know, you have like longer hair Minky, shorter hair Minky. Flannel's kind of the in-between. The other thing that I have done on several quilts is use a throw blanket. So this time of year in a lot of the stores you can find Christmassy or different holiday themed little throw blankets. So again, if you buy one of these to be the back of your quilt, you're going to be limited by size because these are like small throws. But I did just finish this one this week, and this was my Hydrangea Dreams quilt, and I had picked up, this was a little fleecy blanket, a little throw size fleecy blanket that I picked up actually from CVS or Walgreens. I was there to pick up my daughter's medicine, and they had blankets, and I saw this one, and I thought it was so pretty with the plaid and kind of the periwinkle blue, and I thought that color would look really nice. But again, you're going to be very limited by size. So it has to be a throw size or smaller. So that I think is the biggest consideration with Minky is what is the size of your project? It's going to be super soft. My kids love anything with Minky. I love anything with like a Minky or a fleece because it's just so soft and cuddly. And you just want to curl up with, you know, some hot chocolate and watch a movie or, you know, work a crossword puzzle or something. This is definitely super soft. And I quilted this one with a walking foot and lavender thread, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. It has a really nice texture to it, super cuddly. So a small fleecy throw blanket can also make a nice quilt backing. You're going to be limited on size. Now, I've had this question asked me before, and yes, I do still use batting. All of my quilts have batting in them, so even if I am using a minky, a flannel, a fleecy throw, I still put a thin layer of batting in there, like a low loft batting, because I just feel like it creates a better drape and a nicer texture and almost like a traditional comforter. So maybe not as much of like a traditional quilt, almost more like a comforter. And it just creates a really nice texture. So those are some of the ways that I back my quilts if I want that soft texture. But you may be thinking, wow, Melody never uses any regular quilting cotton on the back of her quilts. I do. This one is the pattern Tropics from Cozy Quilt Design. And I finished that this summer sometime. And so this is more of a summer weight quilt or a spring quilt, not really for when it's cold. I was really happy with the way this turned out. This fabric on the back, this is traditional quilting cotton. This is from, I remember it was from Coriander Fabrics. I don't remember the name of this fabric now because it was a couple months ago when I did this, but I remember it was from the brand Coriander Quilts. And here you can see the seam. So here is where the seam goes down, but because it's just quilting cotton, it doesn't create a ridge. So there's no ridge or bump. Whereas if you're using a thicker backing material like minky or flannel, if you have to seam your backing, there's no ridge. So this one does have traditional quilting cotton on the back. I quilted this one all over with wavy lines using my walking foot on my sewing machine. And I did have to piece the back, but this one's very nice. This one feels lighter weight. It definitely feels lighter. It's not as thick or warm as when you use a minky, but this fabric will still wash up really nice. And this is good quality 100% cotton quilting fabric, and it has beautiful print. And I thought the print of this was just so beautiful. And then you can make it whatever size you need because you're just gonna piece the backing. And there's lots of charts online for whatever size quilt you need, how you're gonna piece the backing. Sometimes the pattern will give it to you, sometimes it won't. And so traditional quilting cotton is usually 42 inches wide, and so most quilts, unless it's a baby quilt, are going to be wider than 42 inches, so you will need to piece the back. My seam goes right down the middle of this quilt, so that's my pieced backing. The seam goes right down the middle, and I did wavy lines going the other way. So this one is traditional. This is more of a traditional quilt, although the wavy lines probably look a little more modern than traditional quilting. But I think that's kind of the fun of it. You have to have fun with your quilting. It's not all about the rules. It's about, there's lots of different options. This one also is a traditional 100% cotton fabric. I kind of think of this one as our picnic blanket, and especially for going outside, if you are going to lay this in the grass for a picnic blanket, then I think 100% cotton works better for that because it's not going to, any sticker burrs or grass, it's not going to stick to this. And so this one I did with a diagonal quilting using my walking foot, and had a lot of fun with this one. I picked this fabric out for the back because it has it looks almost like little brush strokes or little petals, and since the front of this quilt is flowers, I thought that this fabric almost looks like either brush strokes or petals. Again, this is one that I got the last week that Joann's was open, this fabric on the back, and I love it, and I don't have any more of it, and I don't have any way to get any more because Joann's is closed, but I loved, it has so many different colors in it. So I will say, if you're going with traditional 100% cotton on the back, you have a lot more color choices, especially in the Cuddle Minky. It's mostly just solids and kind of just basic colors. So if you want really beautiful prints on the back, you're gonna have more options. Like this one has that beautiful floral print on the back, and this one is I think beautiful. So you're gonna be able to do a lot more with prints, and you can accommodate any size. Now, I don't have it with me because it's already gone to one of my friends, but I've made one king size quilt, and on the back of that king size quilt, because it was actually even an oversized king size quilt, I used a king size flat sheet. And that was an economical way to get a very large piece of fabric for the backing of that quilt. Now, another option is to piece your backing. So on this quilt here, this was a pattern, this was a quilt along that I did. It was a kitchen table quilting pattern, kind of a very modern pattern. And I remember this background was Kona Snow. I had been gifted a charm pack. And so I remember making this pattern. It was a quilt along I did last year. Now, I ended up with some charm squares left over, and I didn't have quite enough of this yellow fabric to do the whole back. So I ended up adding a pieced row in here. So using up the rest of the charm squares that didn't make it into the front of the quilt. So there's a little decorative strip on the back here. It's mostly all the yellow, but using up a little more charm squares to get it the width I needed for this. And this one again, this was one of the last quilts that I tried to quilt on my starter sewing machine, which was a small brother sewing machine. And I didn't have a walking foot. Actually, that machine was such a beginner sewing machine, it wasn't even walking foot compatible. And I got so frustrated because no matter how careful I tried to be quilting without a walking foot, I got a lot of puckers in this. And I mean, it might not bother anyone else. The puckers on the back kind of bother me because I was trying so hard to be careful. But there are some puckers because I quilted this without a walking foot. But still, I'm overall happy with it. And it just shows you again, you know, you can have fun with kind of adding in some piecing on the back without adding bulk. Because this is just 100% quilting cotton on the back, it's pretty easy to add detail on the back of your quilt as well without adding any bulk or ridges. Okay, one more I wanted to show you guys. This one, this is my Christmas Scrappy Brightly quilt. It's very scrappy. It's very scrappy. It has a lot of different fabrics in it from different fabric lines, and some of them are from Joann's and some of them are from quilt stores. And I used just all different kinds of prints and colors in this, and I love it. What I used for the back of this quilt was I remember it was called Bracelets. It had the name Bracelet in the name of this, but my one of my local quilt stores has a section. It's a very small section, but they have a small section of 108-inch wide quilt backing fabrics. And I was looking for a green, and I found this one. I remember the name had Bracelet in it, of the fabric, but I thought it was a pretty green. It had two different colors of green in it. And the nice thing is, if you buy a 108-inch wide quilting cotton for the back of your quilts, you don't have to do any piecing. It will be large enough to cover up to a king size quilt without having to do any piecing. And this is like a large throw. And I was very happy with the way that turned out. I did quilt this one with straight, diagonal lines. They're straight lines, but they're on the diagonal with a gold thread because there's a lot of gold on the front of this quilt. And I felt like the gold and green looked nice on the back. And so, so those are just some options. We like both at our house. The quilts that get used the most at our house are the ones that have the Minky, just because this is my favorite. This one's the one that's currently on the couch, and this is the one that I currently use every morning. I sit and drink my coffee and I cuddle up in this, and this is the current one that I'm using, and it's just, I think it's really fun. The front is all scrappy. It's all just squares sewn together in a very scrappy fashion, and then the back was a silvery gray cuddle Minky, and this is my current favorite to cuddle with. It's just wonderful for cuddling up on the couch. It's warm, but not too hot, and it's great. It's a great weight. I also love weighted blankets, and I used 2 battings in this, and it's my favorite. So anyway, that's a little tour of some of the ones I've made. There's one more I want to dig out of this pile. I've got so many quilts on the table in front of me, and these are not even all the quilts that I've made last year, because I've also gifted several quilts. And so these are just the quilts that are currently at my house, not the ones that I've gifted. This is one I made for my daughter Natalie, and this is one of the first ones I ever used Minky on. This is a combination of 2 different free patterns, and I love that it had the giant big blocks. This block here is called a swallows in the window because I think this part here is supposed to look like feathers. And it was kind of fussy to piece, but it was really, I love this quilt. This quilt, my oldest daughter calls it my crazy quilt because it has so many different colors in it, but this one was for my middle daughter and she loves all the colors. But I wanted to show you the back of this one because the back of this one's pretty special. This one is a Minky. I remember I ordered this from Fat Quarter Shop online because I wanted this peachy color. And I think this is one of the ones that came in 90 inches wide in their selection online. Fat Quarter Shop had a pretty good selection of quilt backings, and I was specifically looking for like a 90-inch Minky. But this one is a little different. I don't know if it shows up very well on camera. It's called a burnout. And so it has, you can see the quilting lines. It was done in lavender, and this one I did send to get long-armed. But these other lines, this feathery texture, it's called a Minky burnout. And it just has a fabulous texture on the back. And I haven't, it's kind of pricey. And so I've only had one quilt with this on the back of it, but I love it. And so this creates just a really nice texture. So this quilt looks really beautiful from the front or the back. You could just do it this way because it has so much texture and pattern on the back, even though it's all one solid color. And then this quilt block right here is my favorite one I've ever made. Out of all the quilts I've made, this quilt block right here, it's a swallows in the window, and it features some cave facet along with some blender fabrics that I found at my local quilt store. Remember this green I picked up at my local quilt store, and this is cave facet, and this came from my stash, and I don't even know how old this fabric is. I know it's pretty old. But just the way these colors contrast, the polka dots here, the polka dots there, every time I look at this quilt block, it makes me smile. Just the colors, the cheerfulness, the happiness. And maybe I'm kind of an irreverent quilter because I don't always follow all the rules, but at my house, we love Minky and we love color. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of questions about why do I use so much Minky as backings. It's because we love it. It's soft, it's cuddly. You can get it in a lot of colors, and it is more limited on the prints. I have found this is the only Minky that I have that's actually a print. Most of them are solids, or this one had the texture, the extra texture, but it's still a solid. So you are a little bit limited on that. Most Minkies are solid colors in general. You're also limited by size. They come in 60 inches or 90 inches, and that's about the only two sizes I've seen. I have not seen a Minky in 108 inch. The flannel one that I showed you, that was a 108 inch. So the size of your project matters. How heavy do you want it to be? How warm do you want it to be? These are all considerations. And so I've done quilts with both with many different kinds of backing, but Minky remains the favorite at our house. So in the debate of to Minky or not to Minky, our whole family pretty much falls on the Minky side of that equation. So anyway, hope that gave you something to think about if you're planning a new project. And thanks for watching today, and happy quilting.